Okay, so I think it's okay to go ahead and get started, although without a quorum, I don't think you guys can vote on the minutes, which is fine because I didn't send them to you till today anyway. But if any of you had a chance to read them and you just wanted to make any quick corrections, we can make those corrections and then bring the minutes back for the next meeting, unless by the end of the meeting we have a quorum, and then maybe we could vote on them at the end.
Okay. I had a couple. On line 56, it says, Ms. Hawansky noted that juniper should not be planted because of a pest that likes both juniper and crab apples, and technically it's a disease.
Yeah, is that the seed or apple rust or whatever it is?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And then line 77, there's just a typo. In the middle of that line, it says, she wondered if we could enhance, and I think it's supposed to be wondered. And that is it.
Thanks, Amy. Okay, so I will just I'll just give you guys the updates. Anybody from the tree council that has a chance can watch the meeting for the rest of the updates. And again, there's no action taken at all at this meeting, so this is really just kind of a quick informational thing. And then if we want to plan for anything in the fall, so I just put in parentheses in your agenda kind of the planning board meeting updates. We've been discussing Kelt's Farm, and we discussed at the last meeting a walkthrough on Kelt's Farm. You know, that plan, the configuration of the plan is still changing, and like a recent version of it that we got, the road is even in a quite different place. So I'm thinking that it may be a better use of all of your time to wait until that plan is a little more finalized for like the location of the road and the locations of the houses. And then we can do our walkthrough and figure out what kind of mitigation we want for those trees. Because it would just be a shame if we get out there and we sort of figure something out and then the plan is completely different or something happens to it, because it's quite controversial, and I don't really know what's going to happen between the planning board and the town board. So, I mean, my recommendation to you guys is let's wait until the configuration is relatively set, and then we'll do a site walkthrough and figure out what we want to do with the trees. Does that make sense? Okay. The next update that I wanted to talk about was River's Ledge. Actually, a lot has changed at River's Ledge since the last meeting because the construction ban was lifted, and I think maybe the economic damage to the developer wasn't as bad as he thought it was going to be, and he has started moving forward again. So they have given the go-ahead to Weston and Sampson to at least work on the preliminary designs for that park. And when we had talked before, they were trying to get permission from Canal Corps to take all the trees down in that linear park that were like the ash trees and the cottonwood trees and all those things. But they ran out of time, and the Canal Corps didn't issue the permit in time for the bat window, which we talked about at the last meeting. So the new plan is to have a very clear tree removal plan and then actually a very clear tree planting plan, so that it would be done in one fell swoop of clearing and planting. And we understand what's being cleared and what's being planted at the same time. And I actually spoke with the engineer about that not very long ago. And I mean, we don't do seeker at Tree Council, but we're going to do it as a separate seeker kind of action through the CAC just for this park, just for the tree removal and, the changes that we're doing to the aqueduct blocks and stuff like that. And then, and I talked about this before, the plans as they evolve will be run through the Tree Council. So that's moving forward again.
So just a quick question on that, Laura.
Sure.
So is there opportunity then to comment on what trees are going to be removed, or is that so we're revisiting? Because at one point, the last time we talked, I think on this project 2 months ago, it was that plan was already set. So now there's going to be a second opportunity to evaluate and discuss which trees are being removed.
Yeah, I think so. At the time, the last time that I brought it to you, the tree clearing plan had been submitted to the Canal Corps, and I thought that the permit was going to be issued, and so it was kind of like, wow, their arborist made this decision, and but because it missed that deadline, and Canal Corps essentially said we want to see a seeker for this exact thing. Yeah, I do think that we have more opportunity to look at the trees that are being taken down and make sure that we're comfortable with everything, the whole gamut.
Right. Yeah, because this might then, so if they have to wait until, I guess, probably the fall or early winter before they're going to be able to execute, given restrictions in regards to bat.
Yeah, I think it's November 1st. Yeah.
November 1st, right.
Although
yeah.
It's going to come faster than you think. But yeah.
Yeah, it would be interesting to look at, because there are some massive cottonwoods there. And I do wonder about, if there's a way to maybe get a better understanding of which ones they plan to remove and then why. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, I understand if there's damage to the crown.
Yeah, you saw that in that, and I can send that back out to you guys. Like, some of the big ones were definitely going, and so we can go look at those big ones and see if it really is a significant lien or what's going on there. And,
right. Yeah.
Actually, we can even have them flag them for us this time because it's kind of hard
like
out there.
If they just flag either way, if they say, we'll flag the retention trees, or if they flag the trees, because if most of the trees are going, it'd be easier to see what trees they're planning on retaining.
Yeah.
And, I totally get it. If a tree has a damaged crown or if it, poses a hazard in the future, I completely understand. But, just given the significance of the size of those trees, if we could retain some, that would be advantageous.
Yeah, so I definitely think we have that opportunity, and I definitely think that they will mark the retained trees for us when we're looking at the plans and when we're doing the seeker. I definitely think that we have a revisit opportunity.
Thank you.
Yep. The next one, Vincenzo Drive. The developer was amenable to doing a street tree planting plan. The planning board discussed it with him on Monday. He agreed to do it on Monday, and so it isn't fully done yet. So what I'm guessing is that the planning board will probably finalize the subdivision with the condition that you guys approve the street tree planting plan. And so then that'll get submitted directly to us. And then you guys can take a look at the locations and the species like we talked about before. And on 2220 Crescent Drive, the last meeting you guys recommended to planning board and to developer to infill between the crab apples with evergreen, but not a juniper, because as Ms. Hawansky was just talking about in the minutes, because of the cedar apple rust disease. So he came back with, and I can share my screen really quickly with you. Boxwood wintergreens. And so he's got them staggered around in between the crab apples. So those are the crab apples, crab apple, crab apple, crab apple. And then he would infill between the crab apples the boxwood wintergreens. And that should hopefully shield the majority of the light pollution or, negative effects of the parking lot.
Okay, so winter gems are going to be roughly 4 to 5 feet tall and wide-ish, if I remember correctly. I just looked at the tag today, actually, for those. Now, sometimes what happens in drawings, if you notice with the crab apples, that the outline edge of the tree is just touching the outline edge of the boxwood. In this plan, in this view that's called a plan view, as if we're flying over it in an airplane looking down. But really, plants tend to overlap, right? Kind of like lasagna, and it's not one plant going to the edge and then another plant just coming up and touching it. So remember, one of the issues that we were thinking about was that a crab apple is only going to block where the trunk is up until and it's going to be open up until we get to the lowest limb, and then it's going to block up here higher. And so we were asking for the evergreens lower in a hedge-like form to block those lower areas, such as the headlights from the cars coming down low. So we may want to request that they put in a couple more. Now, depending on the scale, from this view, I can't tell. Do you see a scale on there, Laura?
Because
Like, can we figure
this architect in particular does hand drawings. I see a scale.
So we may be able to figure out how wide the crab apples, if they've drawn them in full maturity size or not, and that the
1 inch equals
boxwoods.
10 feet.
Say again, I'm sorry.
The scale is 1 inch equals 10 feet.
Because you have a better view, are you able to tell, estimating how wide they are showing the crab apples, the canopy?
Probably 10, right? Because this is. Yeah, I mean, the crab apple, I think, are probably about 15 feet apart.
Okay, so 10, 5. So, and based on your estimate, how wide have they drawn the canopy of the crab apple?
They're probably showing it at like 9. Right. Yeah, like 9 feet, because that's probably 4.5. 4.5. Yeah. Probably about 9 feet.
Okay, so we've got 9, so 4. So basically, in your mind, imagine that 9 feet of width will not have any blocking down low, because they haven't extended the boxwoods underneath the canopy of the tree. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that definitely does. Well, and I mean, I feel like a single crab apple in kind of right now it's like an open lawn, won't necessarily cast a ridiculous amount of shade beneath it. You could probably put the boxwoods underneath it and they wouldn't look terrible, right?
That is correct. And especially at planting, it's not going to be 9 feet wide on planting day. It's going to take several years for that tree to extend its canopy. And boxwoods can tolerate full sun, part shade into deeper shade. So my only concern, my only suggestion would be perhaps they extend, some of the boxwoods, the ones in the middle have 3 in a cluster, 3 in a cluster. They might be able to put 1 more on the left of that cluster, 1 more on the right of that cluster to extend the blockage down low to kind of creep underneath the proposed mature size of those crab apples to create a better hedgerow.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Hedgerow. So I have to call him tomorrow. Because we're not at a corner or anything. I think it'll just be fine. I'll reach out to him and say, oh, sorry. I'll just reach out to him and say, please extend the boxwoods on either end of the cluster to extend the blockage and create a better hedgerow effect.
Yeah, so there would be, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There could be as many as 8 more, possibly, depending on their exact placement. You can never tell that 100% until you actually get to the site and start to plant. So those, I double checked the size of those. So they're approximately 4 feet tall by 4 feet wide in maturity, can get a little bit bigger than that. So they're going to be at full maturity, blocking up to most of us shorter people at about armpit height. That's about 4 feet tall. So that seems good to block the headlights, right? Because that was our concern, that we would have that low blocking to block the headlights. So that seems a good height.
Yeah. I think, and I feel like they'll be all right with that. I'll reach out to him and just have him add that to the plan so that there's some of that overlap. Thank you. And Ace Hardware is, we looked at this before. We wanted to make sure that they maintain those silver maple trees. I can bring their, whoops, darn it.
Are they are they doing the project again? I thought they had withdrawn.
Well, I also think that it was kind of suffering from COVID, but they came back to the planning board and we're very excited to continue. Let me see if this is the one that's got the trees labeled. Hold on. I'm going to share my screen. Hold on. So I just have a couple thoughts that I wanted to share with you, which we can just share with the planning board if you think it makes sense. Here's my screen. So this was the area that we really looked at before because this is where they're taking some vegetation out and there's some really nice big silver maples and we didn't want them to change like the character of the street here. But the engineer has fully confirmed these are the large, like 24-inch, 42-inch, 42-inch silver maples, and the grading and sidewalk is not going to affect them, so they should be okay. They are leaving these two trees over here. There's a couple of shrubs and stuff that are coming out here, and then all of these trees over here are staying. But I wanted to show you, so like right now, if you drive down the access road to the old Morgan Stanley building from Knott Street's over here, there's actually a lot of trees in here that are kind of overgrowing the road and they're like right on the edge of the pavement, and they have to be taken out because the road is only 16 feet wide and they have to make it 22 so that cars can come and go, because this is the way that the deliveries are going to go to the building. It can't be a one-way road anymore. So there's a fair number of trees in here that are being removed. I don't know. I think there are a lot of scrub trees that have kind of just grown up with the lack of maintenance over there, but I certainly wouldn't. I mean, I always feel like if trees are coming down and there's an opportunity to replant them, like I'm wondering if there's a possibility for them to just replant, every 10 feet or 15 or 20 feet or whatever it would be, like just a row, along the new edge of pavement that would be easier to maintain and make more sense and everything, because this is kind of haphazard. Or if, we just leave it. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I can show you if you want to see it, what it looks like right now. Anybody have any initial thoughts?
Anytime that we can put in trees is a good thing, I think.
Yeah, agreed. I was just going to say the same thing. Like if they're taking out trees, we always try to have that give and take. Like, okay, you're taking out trees for your development, you need to put some back in. So,
whoops, gosh darn it.
Are they going to be still having the greenhouse portion?
Yeah, that's still there. It had to get a zoning variance and it did.
So it would also make sense for the type of business that they are portraying to have, so that it would make sense to have nice trees there if they're going to be selling nursery stock.
Yeah, I feel like that is true too. So you guys can kind of see, my computer, sorry. This kind of hedgerow here. So this has all gotten overgrown over time. and this is where they have to expand the road because they can't go this way because of the grade in the sidewalk. So they would essentially be taking out like the majority of these trees, but I feel like you can kind of see there's lawn in here. So I'm wondering, like, if they go 22 feet of asphalt here, if we could get them to plant a row of new trees, you know, in this grass that could sort of create a canopy over their road.
Are you able to drive us down that road so we can get a closer look at the trees that are being removed?
I think that Google thought it was a private road, which it actually isn't, but no, it won't let me go down there.
Okay.
I can't tell from here.
Yeah. So I don't know if they would be classified as, you know, what we're saying, scrub trees. I generally don't like that term. It's a derogatory tree term.
Sorry, I might just be saying that because, you know, like normally, like if it was an entranceway, you wouldn't have all of this here, but that's not the tree's fault.
Yeah, right. Thank you. And that's what I was kind of hinting at there is, you know, a tree, in my mind, a tree or shrub doesn't ever get overgrown. It's only ever growing to its natural biological size and shape. But you're right. Normally you wouldn't have that situation. I like your idea of adding more trees.
Yeah, I guess that's, that's what I think too. And, just showing this is really helpful, having the visual here, but yeah, I can see why those trees, need to be removed, and then, requesting that they add, additional trees that maybe, fit better to the actual site.
Laura, how much land do they have there? How much is theirs?
Yeah, it's very tight. It's very tight. It's another question to me on whether or not. So I think that their edge of property is, somewhere in here, but it's very close. I don't know if this is the edge, like where this is like sumac and stuff. Like if hopefully this would be the edge of property so they can make the road a little bigger and then they have a small grass strip that they could plant the trees.
So just to clarify here, I'm a little confused. So is there, I think I missed the meeting where this was discussed. Is there an actual development or expansion that's happening here, this project?
Ace Hardware is moving into the building.
The Morgan Stanley building. And they're adding a greenhouse here. And the Tree Council wanted to make sure that the grading and stuff that was associated with this greenhouse and sidewalk wasn't going to mean that they had to remove some of the beautiful silver maples that are out front.
Okay. And so the road that we were just looking at that's somewhat that has the, somewhat overgrown trees.
Here.
That's that one right there. Right.
Yeah, he's calling trees to be removed on an as needed basis only.
But yeah, it looks like all of them.
It looks like all of them.
So I guess the question I would have is like, from the standpoint of what property they own, is that a driveway or is that a town road that accesses that area?
Oh, you know what? It's actually an easement, but it's public access easement.
Okay. So that's what I was wondering. I mean, if it's a town road, then, technically the tree council could plant, the town could plant a tree there, right? Even though it's, yeah. So, I mean, because the right of way encompasses, whatever it is, 15 feet from the center line.
Yeah. Well, I can reach out to him and say, listen, we see that you're taking all these trees down and that there's some additional space for planting. Is there any chance that you can create a new row of trees there, to make a much nicer and more inviting entrance to your customers?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Laura, they also have property or easement on the bank hill.
Yeah, here. That's what I was just thinking. So maybe they can say, hey, bank, can we swap this easement for an easement here and then get some trees planted? I'll ask. Okay, so I may have more on that one to bring back to you, if I can. And I think that might have been the last one I had. Oops. What is it? Yeah, that's the last one I had that I could think of, unless you guys had some questions on other projects we've been working on.
No.
Okay. So then the other thing I had on the agenda for us to talk about was just if we had any ideas for fall projects. I wanted to let you guys know that, you know, that we, like Amy and a couple of us on Paul, like a son, after our last tree council meeting, we met out at Town Hall and Blatnick Park and found places for a lot of different trees. And I believe the highway department has planted all of them now. The only 3 that they didn't do were the additional katsuras, and it doesn't mean that they won't do them, but I think they just ran out of time. So we might be able to get those in the fall, the additional katsuras or ginkgos. I don't think they did those, but they did all the ones that we had flagged, I believe. And I also, and I think I talked to you guys about this, they planted a lot of additional street tree requests, and they were like black tupelo and sweet gums and stuff. So we have never really had a robust spring planting, and this year we planted over 40 trees. So that is awesome. It may feel like, you know, the tree council was spinning its wheels a little bit and our Arbor Day was a little strange, but on the whole, I mean, we gave out 200 trees and we had a really successful spring planting for the first time, I think, at least that I've been here. So
You're so positive, Laura.
It's really exciting. We've tried, right? You guys know we've tried to get a spring planting like at least 2 or 3 years. And this was the first time that we really did. So go out there and take a look. It looks good.
Laura, did we keep any kind of, I don't know, like a list or a log or a record of where the trees were planted and what trees were planted, and you know, that stuff so we can kind of
I think we did. I mean, I have the list of the specific trees that the tree council cited, although I do have to, I forgot this. Grand Boulevard is a county road, and you have to get permission from the county to plant on their right of way. And so they moved the tricolored beaches from Grand to Lexington.
Okay.
Which is fine.
And that's not a horrible thing, because Lexington had been one of our chosen planting sites, and that feels now a little bit more complete. Instead of having 1 or 2 or 3 trees, we have put in a lot of different types, and that feels like a good project now.
Yeah. So I mean, I am excited about that. Well,
one of the things that we had talked about, we had kind of tossed around before, maybe what we can do for a fall planting is work on the Blatnick Park sign. We've talked about that quite a bit. The sign itself is in disrepair. Ray Smith of the Highway Department did say that he would coordinate with us on that he would repair it or replace it, or help us figure out how to make that better. And then we could have area around it to decide what trees and shrubs to put in there. And it would be a nice welcome as you're entering the town park area. And we could be putting in some really cool trees as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good fall planting idea. I like it.
And then another thing we had talked about was using all of the computer data that you guys had put together in those wonderful pie charts where we're looking at, oh, gee, this street is a different color and it doesn't have a lot of trees, but this street over here has some trees, that we could look at your computer data to figure out which neighborhood didn't have a lot of plantings, and we could kind of say, hey, maybe we'll do another street tree planting like we did on Ray and Cornelius, right? And pick a different area of town, so we're being equitable for everyone, and we pick a site that needs some street trees and do the same sort of concentrated planting there.
So can I just tell you, I drove down Ray and Cornelius in the spring, and it was so beautiful. It made such a difference to see all those little trees there, and I was just like, man, it was a good call. That tree, I mean, that street needed trees so badly, and they look so good there.
Good.
I think probably in regards to, we basically need to get the plan done, I think, first. So we basically need to schedule a meeting, I think, at some point, and it's just my time to basically go through that information. So probably trying to utilize that street tree canopy data that Steve came up with might be a little premature this year just because it's already June and, you know, I haven't pulled much together. So, you know,
Okay.
so I think that would be kind of somewhat challenging to utilize that data strategically. So I don't know, like, how many requests does the town get for trees? Do people even know that they can request trees? I assume they do.
Yeah, they do. But like Mike was saying, I think it's typically in the range between 20 and 40 tree requests a year. And what they typically do is, if somebody has a tree taken down, they automatically put them on the list for replanting.
Right.
And then if somebody requests one, they're also added. So a lot. And then sometimes when they're in the fall and they're figuring out the tree plantings, they go to a house that had a tree taken down and that person doesn't want another one, so they won't put one there. But most of the time, people want them again, so they put little ones if they can fit them there.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if people really, you know, like people that I talk to don't necessarily even realize that they can actually request a tree. And
Yeah.
so here's just one idea. You know, could take out an ad in, what is it, the Niskayuna
Your
newspaper,
Niskayuna. Like,
and
you
so
can
take out a quarter-page ad and just said, you know, something like, do you know that, you know, you can request a tree, but I don't know if you guys at this point in time are adequately set up to handle that type of call
volume.
You know, you could get like hundreds of people, possibly, I don't know, or maybe it's like an email. But I have no idea. You could get nobody or you could get hundreds of people.
I think that would be really interesting. I almost wonder if Highway would say yes, if we could do like an email blast out in Facebook and say the tree, are you interested in having a street tree? Let the tree council know. And then, you know, if it was 100 trees, then they wouldn't be going directly to Highway, and we could kind of give Highway an idea of, you know, what that was out there and maybe start working on a little of them at a time. And if it was only a couple, then we could just give them to Highway and they could plant them this fall.
Mm-hmm. And if there were more than just a couple in your scenario where there's hundreds, that might actually be cool as well, because we could kind of cluster. We're going to put X tree type over here and Y tree type over there, and we can help our diversity quite a bit with that.
I guess it's the feasibility piece of it. You know, I think it's a good, you know, some type of, like, because I don't think people really know. But the question is, can you guys handle that capacity right now, given the fact that you're working remotely? You know, like if it was through email, or, you know, somebody has to go through all that information.
Yeah.
We
But
can
it's a really good idea.
Laura,
What do
we
you
can
think,
hide
Linda?
the ad.
Well, Linda?
We can hide the ad. We could send out a notice that the tree council has its own website, blurt out that post, put the ad on the tree council's website. By the way, do you know you can have a street tree?
I would
So,
do that too. We should definitely put something on our website anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a
What
good
about
idea,
the-
to direct all the traffic to the, that's a good idea. Direct all the traffic to the website, so it forces people to go there.
So
And
Carol's
James,
not on,
we
but
were
I
gonna
did
add-
order tree council magnets for our
Right.
website.
Yep.
Well, I can work on, you know, maybe Carol and I can work together, because Carol I think has been putting stuff on the website more frequently or more recently than I. But, you know, we can put something on the website about that. We can work on that. That little blurb,
the
like you were
question-
just saying.
Yeah, like, did you know that you can request a tree?
Yeah.
Is it, so I guess the question is it an email, like, is it going to be then an email address that they would be sending that request to? Or would it be a telephone number? Or like, who's going to be on the back end of that? That's what I was concerned about. Given that I know
Yeah.
you guys are really taxed right now, like.
Well, if there's one thing that we've learned, we can set up separate emails now. We have a COVID-19 building email, which I actually haven't checked in a really long time. Have you checked that recently? Maybe we should check that one.
Minor detail.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, we could set up a separate email where all the requests would be under one thing, so they're not getting mixed into our inbox, which is a bad idea.
Yeah,
That's a great idea.
I think that's a good idea for the tree council to have their own email.
Yeah,
For a lot
and
of
then you guys
different
would all have the credentials to log into it, because you can log into it on it's like it's like Outlook WMX or something. I can do it on this. What is it? OWA, whatever that stands for. Steve would know. I'm happy for him. I don't know what we're gonna do without him.
Is he moving to a new job? Is that his impetus?
Well, he's mobile. His wife's moving to a new job, and they found a place in Vermont, which he's really excited about. So that's cool. He did say that he would still help us if he could, or consult. So I don't think that, we have to feel completely cut off, but obviously,
Yeah.
we probably can't be so demanding. Or we have to pay him. He did say we can. I mean, I have the Amazon. I have the Amazon server stuff that I work for and make sure that we're up to date every month on it. And if you and Carol can edit the website, I think we're fine on the website. And then I asked him if we can continue, our fulcrum. And he said, yeah, are you going to continue to collect data? And I was like, well, I think we really wanted to, at this point, kind of turn it over to a professional to do the inventory, because it didn't work so well to have the interns do it. And we really need a full assessment of health and stuff like that professionally. I did see an email from DEC, though, that said that their community forest grant solicitation for 2020 was on hold because of the COVID-19 implications to the state's budget. And they didn't know if they were going to release it in 2020 or it was going to roll into 2021. And I completely understand, but we were in prime position this year to get that community forestry grant. So that was kind of a bummer. But I'm still going to be on the lookout. And I think that if it does roll out, we're super competitive right now because of all the work that we did.
Yeah, I guess that's what just in regards to, DEC state grants, that's pretty much what I've heard, is that I'm aware of a few other grant programs that were to roll out that are on hold. And so no one really knows. But then too, they've talked about even existing, funding pools. So I think the state is challenged.
It's challenged. Yeah. And the email very clearly said, we're sorry, and we have no idea when this is going to come back out as a funding source to you guys. I was like, because I'm not sure if we want interns continuing to collect that data. And I think that we've found that we really just can't do it even when we think that we can. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So those are some updates. I like the fall planting botanic park sign idea. Even if we don't do a formal assessment for a needy neighborhood, if one comes up and we, or we know of one, maybe we can just do a light planting plan. I'm telling you, drive down Cornelius. So nice. And then I will reach out to Highway and see what they think about us maybe doing a public notice on requesting a tree, because it is kind of prime time to get information out there and have people thinking about it and updating their lawns and being like, oh, I could really use a street tree. So I don't know. I think it would be really good information to have.
It's a good timing too. It seems like gardening is
enormous.
Yeah.
Last year, we were doing a lot of talk about Dean Street, slowing down traffic. What about some street trees there?
Well, I think the reason we didn't want to plant street trees there was because the county was considering, or it's on the county's cycle to repave. And when they were repaving, they were considering adding a sidewalk to separate. And so obviously, if we plant trees and then a year later they're coming in and adding a sidewalk, there's probably a big potential that there's going to be conflict with the newly planted trees. And I'm not saying that you couldn't move them, but we probably want to know what the county's ultimate plan is with the right-of-way, if they're doing a road diet or they're adding sidewalks or what they're doing with it before we plant trees. But yeah, I mean, you guys have heard me say it. Trees are actually very street traffic calming, especially when they can create that canopy. People drive quite a bit slower with the
Laura,
street.
what about Windsor? Would that be a candidate because of the?
I would definitely, and I've said this before, I think there's plenty of room between the bike path and the road to put a line of trees. And I do think that would help because it's so wide open. If you could get some big trees in there to take up that space and you're not even affecting people's front yard, you're just actually making a bike path and a road separation safer. So I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, I think that would go a long way as far as the benefit of the trees plus the benefit to the
Slowing down
the traffic
the visual
calming.
corridor. Yeah. Yeah, I really think, I mean, I was initially thinking like, flowering ornamentals, because like how cool would it be to drive down Windsor and, like in the spring or something and have like, a Washington, D.C. cherry experience there or something.
Mhm.
But if you really want the traffic to slow down, and there's definitely room there, you might want to do the bigger trees so that they canopy out and, they're really providing shade to the bike path and narrowing the visual corridor. So I don't know. If you guys have some time, maybe drive down Windsor and see what you think about it. But yeah, I definitely think that's probably a good use of trees right now.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think that the along the bike path is going to change regardless of what you do. If you're going to do treatments on Windsor, I definitely think you could use some trees.
Okay.
Okay.
We have, sorry, off topic, but I don't know if Amy remembers this. We planted like 5 tulip trees over there by the stormwater detention basin.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and they're doing really good. I checked on them the other day.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Are you talking about that one that's like got a big fence around it, like a big
Yeah.
fancy?
We planted, and it's kind of on a hill, but they plunked in, I think 5 or 4 tulip trees over there because it's such a wide open space, and that was exciting. I think that at least since I've been here is the only time we planted tulip trees in a while.
I'll have
I
to take
love
a
tulip
look.
trees.
Yeah.
I love them.
They're awesome trees.
Okay, so that's all I have. Does anybody else have anything for the meeting that they wanted to chat about?
Well, our tree planting subcommittee, as Laura said, we went and sited a bunch of those trees. Blatnick Park and Lexington, and then Grand Boulevard, which got moved to Lexington. And we looked at some areas around the town hall as well and thought about, and we also looked at some places where, hey, if we can't put in anything now, let's remember this for the future because there's a site for something. So I'm glad, and thank you to everyone who came out for that, because I think that was awesome that we were able to get in all those trees, and the highway department, thank you to them for planting everything.
And they did also raise the sourwood. It's raised.
Oh, terrific. Thank you.
Yes. So thanks, guys. And it was just a quick meet. Oh, you got anything, Amanda?
I was just wondering about the Dawn Redwood. Did we ever get one, or?
We got 4, I think, and we planted them along the parking lot at Blatnick Park. So they're gonna kind of grow up and look really, really cool from the road, and also help with shade and attractiveness of that parking lot.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
and also sucking up a little water in there too, right? If I remember correctly.
Oh, good. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So Highway said they were planted. I saw the hackberries. I thought the hackberries looked great. They took down the leaning spruce. They did not take the ash down, but I wonder if that's because it's actually a county tree. But they tightened up that whole corridor, and if you go down there, you can see that's going to be lovely when the hackberries get bigger. I mean, it's just a one bing, like very nice corridor of hackberries now. So that's exciting. And they planted them around that parking lot too, and they looked really good.
Fantastic.
Good. I mean, they're from Northern, bigger than I thought they were going to be, and really good specimens of hackberry. I thought it was impressive.
Terrific.
I have not
When-
seen the Dawn Redwood, so I got to go over there and see. Steve noticed the witch hazels and thought they looked lovely, and was excited that they put witch hazels in Lexington.
Oh, terrific.
Oh, good.
Terrific. And when we were out there sighting, we did notice some other trees that were damaged or were already dead or were hazard trees. So Laura made a note of all of those and let Highway Department know.
Good.
Yeah, we made a lot of work for them, and they slowly went through and they did it all.
Thank you, Highway Department.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Oh dear.
Poor guys. They do a good job.
Plus, we really increased our diversity too, right? Look at all those different things. We had Dawn Redwood, Witch Hazel, Tricolor Beech, the Sourwood, Hackberry, and then, so the Katsura trees, do we own them and we're keeping them, or did they not buy them?
I don't think they bought them. I think it was
Okay,
right
good.
at the end. So, but I think we
That's
should
good.
put them
That's
on our
good.
fall planting list, because I think that it's quite possible there wasn't any problem with them going there. I think they just ran out of time.
Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, so I think that's probably good. I will bring the minutes back for next meeting. And then I'll just send this, video out to anybody who missed the meeting. And then if you guys have anything else, email me. And otherwise, I'll see you all in July.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thanks.
Happy summer.
Yeah.
Same to you.
You.
Bye-bye.